So today we're going to be talking about positioning and personal branding as a web designer, web developer, freelancer. So we're going to be covering what that is, how to do it, what are some options to take into account, and we're going to see some examples of people that we think that are doing this really, really well. This is going to be really useful for people that are either, just starting, or those who maybe like have been in the business for a while but haven't really created a personal brand. And as you know, in 2023, community is God. So you really have to hone and leverage social media, all of your platforms, so you can create a more long lasting business. Cool. So we have here Mr. Devin Fountain, who didn't even know that he had created a really good brand. So we're going to be running over like all of the topic, and we're going to ask him questions, because I think the best way to create a brand is doing it unintentionally. So I really want to hear his point of view as we go through the topic. Okay.
And I have so much to say, but also
Hmm.
I just want to preface this with, yesterday you were saying something like, "Hey, we're going to talk tomorrow, and we're going to talk about like brand strategy." And I literally said to you, "I don't know what brand strategy is," and you
Yeah.
said, "This is perfect." And so I can't wait to get
Hmm.
into like why you said that and like what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So should we get started? Cool. So what the first thing that we need to talk about is what is a brand, like a personal brand. What is brand strategy? So you have to think about how is it that your clients are looking at you? How do they consider you? Do they hold you in high regard? Do they think that you're a creative person, you're fun? Do they think that you are more of like the cool guy underground that just like does like cool shit, like I don't know, Federico, or the different type of person that you are? That is who your brand is. um and your brand is what communicates to your clients if you are capable, if you are creative enough, if you have the right skills, if you are experienced, and why. So defining your personal brand, it's basically defining your reputation. And that's why it's so important to create a strategy to land to that brand, to that personal brand. So why is it so important? Because you will want to target your audience, you want to share your skills, and you want to build trust. Look at that beautiful picture of Devin. Wow. Is that you, Devin?
I thought
Hmm.
so. Yummy.
Wow.
Yes, not to get off the track. That was when I was in the best shape of my life, like right before COVID.
Nice.
Yes, you should
Is that
do
the lead
that
singer
thing
from
again.
Offscreen?
I've heard that one before.
So, so why is it important? Because you're targeting your audience, you're sharing your skills, and you're building trust. So now let's get to the actual nitty gritty of the topic. How do you create a personal brand? So the first thing that you need to do is figure out what makes yourself unique. And that obviously it's the most cliche thing to say, but it's so important to just write down who you are as a person. What are your values? What are your morals? What describes you as a person? So we have Devin here, who is a great example of showing himself as a brand. So I want to talk about Devin's Twitter thread. I think like that's one of the things that I feel like, apart from how you portray yourself through copy, through your images and now through your social media really tells us a lot about what Devin is as a brand. Why? Because he's not only helping people in the community by sharing his knowledge, but he is showing himself to his clients as an authority because he has the knowledge from years in the market to share what he knows. So tell us a little bit about that Twitter thread and how it came to be.
So I actually mentioned it in my newsletter, which is new, by the way, and I need to write that today. But I mentioned in the newsletter that the reason that I originally started that Twitter thread at all actually came from a place of like anger and frustration. I felt like I kept seeing these Twitter threads, and you still see them with like ChatGPT and like the rise of AI and stuff, where people are like, "Here's my, here's my Twitter thread of like tips and tricks. Like, here's how to make 10." I think Brandon tweeted this, like, "Here's how to make $20 million in 10 minutes." It's like, come on, that's a bunch of bullshit, right? And so I started it because I just kept seeing those threads and thinking like, sure, these people are really in the industry, but they're not really putting forth any effort into like giving back to their community. They're just using it as a platform to sort of like boost their followers. So like how to do like a bit of a growth hack thing. I talked to Corey about this yesterday, but I felt frustrated because they were using their platform of like, I think that there's like a bit of like design celebrity in our community. I think everybody fully agrees. I even have like, there's even been a couple of people in this community who've been like, "Oh my God, like, thank you for critiquing my stuff. Like, you were on the Raylan Rebel." I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm just a guy. Like, I'm seriously just a guy who likes food and clothes. And I don't like that they're using the platform to sort of like reach down to their viewers and be like, "You too can be just like me if you follow these tips." And so I created the thread as an effort to like show that no, there's actually more to it than just like one sentence. And I wanted to bring sort of the subconscious thoughts that people like me and you have to the surface, because these are things that we do every day, all day. And sometimes for us, it's like we don't even think about them. We just do them. And I created it to sort of be, I don't know, be a thread for the designer mentor that I wish I had when I was a junior designer. Because I used to have a mentor when I was younger. And then after that, like first agency went under, he was gone. And from then on, I didn't have anybody. And so like I had to sort of source my materials from all around. And I think that that's also like a part of, I guess, my internet presence, my brand, right? Is like, I want to be the mentor to you guys, to the people that I like, that, that need a mentor, be that person that I wish I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right there, when you were telling us the whole story about the thread, I'm thinking about what makes Devin unique. And from all of the things that you spoke about, I came up with, you are a person that accepts no bullshit. You are a person that appreciates the art of the actual craft. Like, you're not like a fake designer. You will definitely take the longer route instead of just like the short, fast route.
Yeah.
You are relatable. You're basically like sort of like a representative of like the underdog. Like, you want to help those people that maybe are not in their prime to really get up there, because like you're sick of this like celebrity designers just like stomping on people.
Yeah.
And you're compassionate, and that's why that compassion sort of like communicates into you wanting to mentor us. So that is what makes Devin unique. And it was just so simple to break it down from just like why you did this thread. So I invite everybody to just jot down 4 or 5 keywords that really describe who you are. Um, and from there, we will go into the next point. Now, this is something that I want to bring up before we jump into the second point. Because, Devin, you said in your Twitter thread, you can't brand yourself as something you think you are, because there will come a point in time where that facade could fall or the ad could just like disappear from a mistake. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that before with other people. I used to work with a designer. I won't name him. He used to work with me at a former agency, and you won't find out who it is. But he had this personality that was like he was just this like very serious designer, and he loved to sort of talk about like the philosophy and like the meta aspect, the process of design. But then when it came down to it, he couldn't actually make anything. And so when he was called out, not directly, it was one of those moments where you're in a meeting with a client and they ask you a question, and rather than just show them, here's the thing that I worked on, it was like, well, let me explain to you these things. And they're like, no, we need to see the fucking thing.
Yeah.
And he couldn't show up for that. And so
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when people ask me, like, I even had a friend ask me yesterday, how do you like find your voice, right? Like, how do you find your Twitter voice? And it's really easy for people to say, oh, well, like, you just be yourself, right? And the hardest part about being yourself is it's not truly just sort of like letting it all hang out. It's taking a moment to be introspective and look inward without any distractions. And for a lot of people, that's a scary thought, right? For me,
Yeah.
when I was starting out, like doing freelance, one of those introspective thoughts was, well, what if I'm not actually as good as I think I am?
The syndrome,
The
imposter.
imposter I think that going inward is like a really good practice. Like do some meditation. Like, meditation's not about, saying like om and like blocking it all
Stretch.
out, right? It's about sitting there with yourself without any other distractions, because when do you do that in your life? You don't, except for maybe like a shower, I don't know,
Yeah.
a walk, but you have external stimuli. And so damn, I forgot the original question. I just went on a rant. I'm sorry.
The original question was about, oh, you were talking about that designer that like would never kind of like actually show his work, and it's like, just show me the shit. Like,
Yeah.
what is it that you're hiding? So
Oh,
you went
right.
into that
The whole
whole like,
mask thing.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So, I mean, that one's weird. It's like you need to be yourself when you're doing these things, because when you're working with clients or you're going to take a salary position or something, at some point, like I said, that mask will fall and everybody will know who you truly are. And that's probably a worst case scenario than just being yourself. And not everybody has to like you for that sort of thing. I have a
mm-hmm,
really good example. I want you all to think about, you don't have to like say it out loud or anything. I asked my friend this yesterday. I said, I want you all to think about, just for a moment, a YouTuber or a TikToker, somebody that makes content that if you told your best friend or you told your significant other or a friend in the community about it, they would say to you, well, that sounds pretty fucking boring. Like, who is that for you? Just real quick. For me, I sometimes watch like vintage haul videos and I know they're pretty boring, but the point that I'm trying to make is if something immediately came to mind, that's because the person that is talking about that content is exactly the type of content that you want to hear about. There is somebody out there for you, even if you don't think so. So a lot of people will hesitate on being themselves and like showing their true persona. Trust me, somebody out there will like your stuff. There is somebody for everybody, and that's not like a dating thing. It's just the way it is, right? Everybody here likes some YouTube channel that I probably don't like.
mm-hmm. That's it. Okay.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, I was just doing a little poll. Did I put it up? That people can see? Can
No,
you guys
what?
see it? No.
I don't think so.
Did I mess it up? I couldn't do it. Oh man.
Is there like a poll option?
Start now.
Oh, yeah, there's a timer, but there's no poll.
Oh. Okay, well, never mind. I don't know how to use this. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it, that's like where I want to go back to like the imposter syndrome thing, because it's really intimidating to say just be yourself and like put yourself
Yeah.
out there. But like, and especially with that example that you did, like I have that issue all the time. Like, am I a fraud? Like, am I really a designer? Like, do I really have the skill? Like, like I see all these great people, and it's like putting myself out there on Twitter and just like letting people just like rip me apart for something that doesn't really look awards worthy. It's terrifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what I would say is just like do the list internally, do it yourself. If you feel like it's not the right moment, or you don't feel ballsy enough to like just open yourself out there on like social media, maybe start doing it in the flow party and like build in public. So that's actually a really, really good way to put yourself out there as that original person that you are. Because in a community like us, nobody's really giving a shit. Nobody's gonna like judge you if you're like a weirdo or whatever. So that will help you sort of like bring down those guards, or how do you say that, like,
Barrier?
yeah, those
Yeah.
barriers that you have. And next thing you know, you're sharing your whole life on social media, if that's what you want, you know what I mean? So
I also want to add to that imposter syndrome thing and say that like it's something that for me, and I think for a lot of creatives, just never goes away. Like I've been doing this for over a decade now, and like some projects I'll think, oh, I know exactly what I want for this, and I don't feel that. I just get to work
mhm,
right away. Other projects, I feel that the entire duration, even after it's shipped, I think like I'm not as good as I think I am. There's all
yeah.
these other people, but there's something that I want everybody to remember. It's that just like if you're like a really, really junior designer, you don't want to ask like the most expert person for advice, because their advice for you is so far removed from like what you can possibly learn in that moment that it's no
Mhm.
longer applicable. And it's like that with a lot of the work with imposter syndrome. Like when you're comparing your stuff to other people on Dribble who are like reaching the top, popular sections. Not that Dribble's a good example, because a lot of the stuff these days is pretty bad. But you look on Twitter and like Joseph Barry will share something, and you're like, why am I not as good as him? It's like,
Mhm.
dude, he's been doing it for far longer than you have. You're just getting into it, and he's doing something that you don't want to do, which is put in a lot of the time and effort into that. Like I think he told me that he was like practicing for like 6 days a week for like 2 years or something. So of course he's better than I am. Like, yes, it's really easy to compare when you do experience, but you usually get people's highlight reel. So
Yeah.
like, instead of thinking about it like, why can't I be like the top, right? It's more like different levels. Take the next level up. Why can't I be like the next person up and bridge that gap? And then once you're there, go, why can't I be like the next person up and bridge that gap?
Yeah, it's actually happening. I feel like it's happening to me lately. Before all the Webflow craziness with like the docu-series and whatever, I used to share my crappy work. Like every time I had a project, I would just share it out. If somebody probably went into the inspector, like it was just a freaking mess. But I was so proud of it because that's all I knew, and I didn't know anybody in the community, so I didn't really give a shit who was judging me.
Yeah.
And now that I'm surrounded by all these amazing people, I'm like super subconscious about sharing work that it's not award worthy. So like even myself telling this, like talking here right now, I'm like, oh shit, like I need
Yeah.
to work on this.
Yeah. You're always going to look back and be like, wow, this work sucked. Like at your old stuff. Cause that's just like, you get better over time, right? It's
Yeah.
just the nature of things.
Hmm.
I think Ivan wanted to
Oh
comment on
yeah,
something.
Ivan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say on what Devin said earlier about imposter syndrome. It's true. It never goes away. It doesn't matter how many projects you do; it's always there. What has helped me put a little kind of deal with it is really has been joining the Friend Back Cafe sessions.
Hey, yeah. I'm glad
That
you joined.
has no seriously, that has really helped because you're opening up honestly. You're not worrying about being judgment. You're not being recorded. So you just letting yourself go. You dropping that wall, right? That curtain that you feel, okay, I'm secure behind this wall. And what I say is like the whatever, or maybe I don't say anything and I'm good. But when you're in Fred back, you'll be like, you know what? I don't have to hide behind that wall. I need to expose myself, see what my peers have to say about what I think and what I'm doing. So thank you both for frame back.
Thank
And
you.
that has to, yeah.
I'm gonna give
Nice.
Carter the mic now.
Go ahead.
Carter, my boy.
I just sort of wanted to talk about like imposter syndrome because like I feel like you can never get out of it. Mostly doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it for. But I think one thing that's been helping me lately is just consciously making the decision to get better. Like consciously really like making the effort, putting the effort, like consciously really doing it. All right, I'm gonna get better. And it's funny that I was having a conversation with my girlfriend. I'm like, it's crazy that I wanted to be at this point about a year ago. I'm at this point, and I really don't even realize I'm at this point because I'm looking on to the next. So it's always good to like, yeah, consciously want to get better, but at the same time, still take a pause and look at where you're coming from to where you're currently at. And it's like you always progress slowly, but surely for sure, as far as you're consciously wanting to progress.
That
Yeah.
is very true. I mean, I feel like that's when you have an exam at school and you are so insecure about it because you know you didn't study enough. But when you actually go into the exam knowing the answers by heart, you know you're killing it. You know what I mean? So it kind of feels the same.
Yeah. I have one more comment before we move on, and this is actually applicable to like brand strategy and stuff. But I don't know who said it, but it was something like, this is gonna be also misquoted too. Something like real artists don't wait for inspiration, they get down to work. And I've found that to be more often true than not, right? I also think is like a really good way to defeat the imposter syndrome, isn't to just sit and wait for inspiration, like lightning to strike in your backyard. It's like you need to get down and you need to essentially take a piece of coal and turn it into a diamond. You're not going to find a diamond just like lying around somewhere. You have to get to it. And it's the same thing with like brand strategy and doing social networking and working with the community. You're not like, one of you in here who I probably don't know isn't going to just show up in the community one day and everyone's going to be like, hey, it's you. It's like you have to work at it. Like you have to show up. You have to be consistent. You have to be there for everything, or you have to help out people. You have to keep working at it.
Okay,
You're not just gonna
hold
find
it,
that
hold
view.
it there, hold
Yeah.
it there.
Yeah.
Because the next question is kind of gonna touch on that a little bit. So, or not the next question, but the next point on how to create a personal brand. So we already covered what makes you unique. Now, the second point is share your passion, not your business. So when we see on Twitter companies or freelancers being like, do you need a new website? I am the greatest developer in the world. Please hire me. Or I'm available for April 2023 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's super cool for you. Like, you know, that's cool. But don't sell yourself that way because that's too selly. Like we are not doing selling in 2023. We are doing value offer to your community and to your clients or potential clients. Before we go into Devin, I do want to highlight how Grace Walker does it. She is a master at selling herself on Twitter, if you think about it. Like if you read her tweets, they're first of all, they're very well redacted. And second, she is talking about how I don't know, sliders are a bitch, but she found this solution that it's so amazing, and she was able to finish this 6-page website that I did for a I don't know startup
I love
from
that
San
pivot.
Francisco. You know what I mean? So like intertwined in there, she's talking about the work that she's doing for this amazing companies and how she's the shit because she was able to finish that slider that was so hard. So do it that way, like share your knowledge Maybe she does it a little bit aggressive. You don't have to be that aggressive, but like you, Devin, also do it really well. Like you're always sort of like sharing your passion for design and not really selling you as like hire me for April
Yeah.
2023.
I mean, I am guilty of that. Like, I did used to tweet things like, hey, if you like this thing, then like I'm available for work in this month. And it never worked. I don't think it worked a single time. Like if you think about it, my audience is all of you and more. So it's like, why would you guys hire me for work when you do the same thing that I do? Just think about like your audience that's following you.
Exactly.
It actually originally started when I was thinking to myself as a freelancer, okay, like how can I get more work? And I'm gonna tell you like verbatim my like playbook. Because I was talking about it on Twitter a while ago and nobody paid attention and it worked. So for a long period of time on Twitter, I was going through all sorts of like influencer posts, like the quote unquote design celebrities in the community, right? And what I was doing is I was tallying up, okay, what are they talking about? Like how could I categorize these things? What are they talking about? How often are they talking about them? And what category do they belong in? And ultimately I found out that they belonged in 3 different categories. They're either a teaching moment, and teaching doesn't mean like, hey, let me teach you this tutorial or like this tip or whatever. I'm categorizing it as a giveaway. How about that? Like give away a piece of knowledge that you know, right? That's one category. Another category is personal, things that are like, hey, here's what I'm up to this weekend. Here's a picture of my dog. I like cooking. Here's a cool piece of design that I found, whatever. And the last category is asking. So doing the opposite, right? Rather than give away pieces of your life or piece of design knowledge, whatever, you're saying, hey, I did all of these things for you. Now you're going to do that for me. You're going to take just a moment of your time to retweet this or to follow me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people on Twitter do it wrong, where they'll tweet a whole thing and then they'll just like reply like, if you liked this, then follow me. It's like nobody falls for that. I was literally talking to Corey about this yesterday. Like nobody likes that shit. It's reads like a sponsored post. And after I categorized all those things and I counted them, I started releasing a calendar. If you go back far enough on my Twitter account, which I don't recommend, it goes pretty far, you'll find that I created a literal calendar and I was giving it away and saying, here, if you tweet these things every single day, your following will grow. And that's not like a life hack thing or growth hack thing. It's like me trying to find my audience in an effort to find more work, right? It's not about like the follower count for me. And so here's the actual ratio is 70% learning or teaching or giveaway, whatever you want to call that. 70% of all your tweets will be that. 20% will be personal. So here's what I did this weekend. Here's a picture of pizza, whatever. 10% will be the asking part, the part where you ask people to give back to you after you've already given back to them. And so after you've done all of those things, the thing is that you're not necessarily, you are growing your following, but I don't want you to think about it as like the number is just going to keep going up. I want you to think about it as more like creating a network of people who like your content, who think things or who think about things the same way that you do. So you're creating this network of people who listen to you, who like your stuff, and who, when you share something, want to share that with other people as well. So that essentially branches out to people who will be like, oh, like Eric will see something and be like, I need an animator for this Lottie file, right? And he'll just tweet about me. And it's like, I did that because I gave back, and then he saw that thing and he's giving back to me now. So it's like this feedback loop that works really well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not joking, by the way. There, if you go back, I did it for like 4 months. I had 2 people comment on that. I'm going to try this. They both tried it for 2 months. Both of them grew their following significantly.
Mm.
And everybody else
Awesome.
was like, I don't know. I'm like, whatever, dude. I did the research. I literally give it away. Just do it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So share your passion, not your business. So now let's think about you're unique, you've shared your passion. Okay, so obviously hand in hand with that goes invest in your image. So obviously we are a digital brand basically because we're behind the screen, so it's not like personal image itself, which is also important, but like nobody cares. So in this case, it's take care of your or invest in your image as either a portfolio, a website, but also on your social media platforms. What are the social media platforms that you're using? You're using Twitter, maybe LinkedIn, I don't know, Dribble,
Instagram,
Instagram.
Discord, Slack,
Exactly,
Reddit, I
exactly.
guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. So this is, for example, one account that I follow, Carla Pallet. She is a brand designer who I
Whoa.
absolutely love. And if you see her Instagram, like right away, you can tell like this girl is creative as fuck.
Yeah,
Like
this is
she
great.
has her profile super organized. She literally starts with like, I'm not for everyone. So you know that she has a spunky personality. She's building a boutique brand for those who cares. So she's like behind that social sort of like, I'm not working with brands that just want a funnel website or a funnel brand or whatever. Her account is about showcasing client work and work that inspires her, and then she has the clear call to action to buy her prints. So this is just like one example in 1,000 that we can use as an inspo for all of our other social media channels. um, that's something that has been not ingrained, but like honestly, for me, Instagram just kind of came natural. And I just love sharing stuff there. Right now, I'm kind of like slow on it,
Yeah.
but I love it. Like I absolutely love it. And I used to share my whole life, literally every day, from the moment that I woke up. Oh, I had, I don't know, a guy bowl, and it was just, I would just make it like super extra for the picture. Like I was that girl. um but it was just who I am, and it actually brings clients. So find who you are and work on your image that way, because they may not see you as an actual person, but they do see your social media, and it's important for you to communicate that.
Yeah, it might not be that, let's say on Instagram you post a beautiful piece of packaging, which like her packaging work is incredible. It might not be that you post that packaging work and a client sees it and they're like, I love it, I'm going to hire you. It might not be that ever, but what it could end up being is somebody else sees it who maybe is a friend of a designer, and that designer is talking about something at a party, and then they go, hey, you should check out this person's Instagram.
Exactly.
Again, it's all about that like branching out part. Like seriously, show your work more often than not, because even if you don't get them directly, you'll get them indirectly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So obviously tied to this, everything goes like in a little ladder. But I think the most important thing to really create a memorable brand that really sticks to people is sharing your story, no matter how vulnerable you feel. Because that in reality is what's going to make a connection between you and the person that it's seeing your brand or connecting with your brand. So I'll tell you a story which maybe a lot of people know, but I loved sharing my process, like building on Webflow. And out of nowhere, literally, guys, like I didn't really know Twitter. I had no idea who was Tim Ricks. Like I had no idea who was nobody. Twitter just reached out because they saw probably that I was pulling people in from Instagram. I was somebody that was completely out of the ordinary. So I'm not a nerd. I'm not a guy. I'm, a girly girl. And I was just building shit on Webflow. And that's how I got the documentary. Another great example is Brianna, who is not here. But Brianna, for those that don't know, she has a disease where her muscles actually hurt, her bones hurt and everything. And she has opened up about this many times in the community. And if you see Brianna as a brand, it's really something that you should pay attention, because she is absolutely perfect at building a brand in front of people. She
Mm-hmm.
shares her real story, who she is, where she came from, what she cooks, that she has a partner that supports her. We all love him. She builds in public. She's so unique and eccentric and different. Like, she has literally the whole package. So I think that's really, really important, and something that I would suggest people sort of like say, what do you think, Devin?
I was like, is that a question? Yeah. So on the uniqueness thing, I think that's something that people get caught up in a lot. They're like, well, I'm not unique. Why would they care about me?
But you are
Like for example, like I'm literally just a blonde white guy. Like, I am the epitome of like like, why the fuck is a blonde white guy here in this session? Why can't we get like a person of color or like another woman? And I think like on the uniqueness thing, it's really not a matter of like, are you actually a unique person? Because everybody is unique in their own way. It's about one really small thing, which is that everybody wants to be heard and everybody wants to be empathized with, which is they're roughly the same thing. And the point that I'm getting at is that even if you're not unique or you don't consider yourself unique, somebody will share a small story moment with you, some small thing where both of your paths cross. Maybe not physically, you maybe have never met in the real world, but in some way you'll both have a similar journey, and that is all it takes to connect with another person.
Yeah, 100%.
So for example, Diego and I, we've never met. In fact, when I first heard about him, I was like, man, fuck this guy. Because I'm not joking, I really am. Because because I was working on a design for a client, and I said, do you want it developed too? And they said, no, I have somebody else. And I was like, but I do that. I do Webflow. Like, I built this because I knew I was going to build in Webflow. It's like, no, I got this guy named Diego. And I was like, fuck that guy. I don't know who that guy is. But the thing is, Diego and I are friends now, and it's not even because like, you know, we were friendly and we talked and whatever. It's just a small moment of connection that has grown into something greater. And if you can take just a small moment of your life and tell people that, let them know, let them in, you know, be honest with yourself and get introspective for once, even if it's scary, then you'll connect with other people too. I mean that. Like, normally I'm like a very jokey person, and like I talk shit and whatever, but I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. Aww. Are we having a bromance moment?
Anyways,
yeah, I love it too,
we're
man.
actually trading this weekend. I told him how to make like American like state fair lemonade, and I'm gonna make Brazilian lemonade, also in Brazil known as Swiss lemonade. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, see, Corey said that's how Tony Seats and I became friends. Our story and goals were similar.
Yeah.
And I bet like they don't even like each other. No, I'm just kidding. But the point is, like, it's these small things that people want to connect with you on. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to connect with something that is similar to their story. They don't want another pissing contest where they're like, well, I did this thing and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yep. Okay. We have 3 more points to go. And we'll cover the whole thing. So the next thing that I would suggest doing is think carefully about your business as a brand. About your brand as a business. My dyslexia. So list what's your mission for your business? What is your vision as a business? Where do you want to take this business? What do you want to do? And like, honestly, today could be different from a year from today, you know? But what are the things that right now is that you see your business becoming? and the value that you want to offer to your clients, and always over deliver on those values. Everybody has heard this a bunch of times. We actually heard it yesterday from, I think his name was Mark, on the talk, that he was saying we always try to over deliver. Like, even if we think that the site or the brand packaging or whatever it is finished and we still have time, we will go back and make it better. So if that's one of your values, like, use that to give shape to your brand. And make sure that those values align with your personal beliefs, because what you are is what you attract. I'm a firm believer of that. And like, if you are wanting to work with brands that, like Carla Pallet, that wants to work with brands that give a shit, brand yourself as that, if that's what you want. I remember when I first started, I started in Upwork, and Upwork is famous for the coaches about personal growth wanting to do funnel websites, like sales funnel websites, and I absolutely hate them with passion. So I said that one of my brand values was not working with people like that. And the
Your brand
moment,
value is like, I won't.
no, I won't. Like, if you come to me with like a click funnel thing, like, I will, even if it's 10 grand, bro, like, I will not take it. Like, I absolutely hate him. And the moment that I did, I remember I was like, you know what, we need the money. I'm going to take it. I'm going to do it. The guy scammed me and literally took the website, kicked me out of the Webflow account, didn't pay. And I was like, see, like,
Brutal.
I freaking knew it. Yeah.
That sucks.
That sucks. So the last or second to last thing is define your visual identity. So this is where I want to shout out Corey, because I think, as you all know, Corey does this so freaking well. He is obviously the superhero of the Webflow community. You can check out his website there. And I would just love to hear, like, how do you get to that point? I don't know if you don't want to talk, Corey, it's totally fine. But it would be really cool to find out, like, how did you get there? Like, why,
Yeah, sure. Honestly, it was just a mistake. I don't know. It was just kind of dumb luck. And my portfolio at the time was fine. I was like, yeah, it's okay. It looks cool, but it wasn't really bringing me any work. So I was just sitting at work one day and had an idea, and one idea led to another, and I kind of built the project to just have fun with something. I didn't have any other like preconceived notions of like, I need to do this so people think this is cool, or even like I never even thought about it from a branding or marketing point. It was just something I had fun with, and I almost didn't launch it, honestly, because I was like, it's short. There's not a lot of content there. It's like, but how you constantly hear, just ship it. I think Diego talks about that all the time. And I was like, all right, I'll just hit it publish, whatever. It's not going to hurt me, right? And people seem to really like it. But fun fact is, like, I'm not even into comic books. I'm not a comic book fan. Like, I don't dislike comic books. It seemed like this perfect idea to take a superhero and comics. And I even broke my own rule. I was like, I'm not going to put any sort of like flow or web flow in the name of it, because it's overdone. But I did it anyway.
Well, it's great. I think it's great. It works. Like, it's straight to the point. It's fun, and it just communicates a strong brand, and sometimes that's what brands are looking for in clients. Another person that I want to highlight here, it's someone from the community also, who is Christine Maggie. She not long ago, she launched Design Goals, which is her, I guess, one-person agency. And I think she did such a great job. It really shows her colorful personality. It kind of gives a testament to like her knowledge and her uh, expertise, I guess, or experience in the industry. And I think it really works, you know. Um, and maybe like last, I had two more, but I think we'll go with Xenia. We all love Xenia, and I think like the reason why I'm highlighting her here is because she is, I think, the definition of like cool girl designer.
He's so fucking cool.
She's just like has that brand down pack.
I wish she was here. I'd be like, I love your work.
I know.
You're my
We would
hero.
be. I know.
You know, when we were
like,
talking earlier about like, why can't I be like them? She's like, she's that for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like you could get to that point that because you are that kind of like cool guy. What is that? Oh, Skylar. You yourself.
Skylar,
Oh,
banned.
guys, we missed Skylar's talk. Damn.
How dare you?
I know. I'm sorry.
It's recorded on YouTube. We'll be good.
I know, but I told Maggie that we were gonna be there. God damn it. Okay. Yeah, so back to Xenia. She is freaking amazing. You can see her pictures. She's exuding that cool girl. I'm mysterious and like nobody can reach me, but I'm like everywhere type of vibe.
Yeah.
And that's just her, you know, defining her visual identity. I think you also do a great job, Devin. Like you are also that like sort of like New York cool designer that like has all the cool words and says like dude and like stoked.
That's my California, like I'll never stop saying dude. I lived in California for so long.
Yeah, so work on that, define your brand your visual identity, really show who you are. Like don't be afraid, you know, to like show what your style is, what type of photography you like, the typography that you like to use, and like build that for yourself. And then last but not least is know your audience. It's very different to share a tweet on Twitter, obviously, than to share a story on Instagram. Like many times I see people share, I don't know, their work in the same format. They would share it on Instagram, on Twitter, and vice versa. And I really think that if you can take a little bit more time to understand what language each social media uses, it's the more effective it'll be for you, for your brand.
Can I add to that?
Of course.
Well, first of all, I think you're completely spot on. Everybody gets this wrong. I don't know why. It's like nobody seems to be learning from it. It's like something I always tell people about the difference between resumes and portfolios and presentations. Like when it comes to going for like a salary job or whatever. And everybody's like, oh, I have like the most beautiful resume and I'm using this font and like blah, blah, blah. What? Who gives a shit? Whatever. Resumes aren't for design managers. Resumes are for recruiters. The only thing that you need a resume to do is to get past the computer that automatically filters out other resumes. It's like fill it up with keywords, whatever. It doesn't matter. The portfolio is for the design manager, the person that you're supposed to impress the most. And the presentation is for the whole team. It's for everybody to see. So you need to cater those things to those individual people. I went to a conference once. It was in Texas called Circles. I don't know if it still goes on anymore. And there was a writer there, and he was like, you know, wake up every morning and write at 5 a.m., which I'm not doing. But one really interesting point that he brings up all the time is that this is going to be great for brand strategy too, or like getting the word out in your name. If you do a tweet, like for example, I do my daily Twitter thread, and I'm going to extrapolate on that. I'm like, okay, I have a tweet. I'm going to tweet about this. Here's a photo, whatever. Take that tweet, turn it into an extrapolated newsletter post, which is something I'm going to be doing later today, actually. And suddenly you have two pieces of content. take that newsletter, turn that into a 2-minute TikTok with a really different context. Now you have 3 pieces, and that like branching social network grows even larger. And it is so low effort because you have already put in the hard work. You've done the short form in the tweet, and you've done the long form in the newsletter. And if you want, you could even go further. You could do YouTube. Like I told Diego, he could take his YouTube stuff, make it into a YouTube short. He could turn it into a TikTok. He could turn it into a tweet thread. And you've got way more avenues of marketing automatically without doing any work. And if you want, if you're like I don't have time for that, dude, whatever. Copy paste into ChatGPT. Say, can you summarize this into 240 characters? Work done for you. No problem.
And if you even want to take it further, and let's say you're building your agency or your personal brand in public, you can share that behind the scenes process on Instagram, because Instagram is all about relatability. So yeah, like really knowing your channels and how to reach your potential clients, it's so important for your brand identity and who you are as a business.
Mm-hmm.
So that is all. I think we covered an overview of like how to create and position yourself as a freelancer. Take this information. You obviously don't have to do everything right away, but have it in the back of your mind, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of new brands soon.